Welcome to Uncharted. I'm your host, Captain Kelly, and with me today is Bill Springer, also known as Billy Swizzle. Probably really, I think all of us know him as the guy with the best socks and even better shoes, who just happens to be the senior contributor to Forbes in the boats and planes department. Look, Bill is such an awesome guy with the absolute best energy. Not only can the guy write, he has the coolest dog and the best sense of style. And he is absolutely certain to leave a lasting impression on you, even just being in the same room as him. To be quite honest with you, Bill is largely and hugely responsible for my own personal success today, and I owe him an undeniable amount of gratitude for that. Bill is smart. I already said the guy can write like no other, is the most genuine of souls, so accomplished, and just such a special human. And he is going to share how his uncharted path got him to where he is today as one of the most well-known and respected journalists around. So welcome, Bill.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow. I mean, that intro, I wish I had that recorded so I could play it when I'm feeling down. That's amazing.
I just put it on. I'll record it, send it over to you, and you can put it on repeat when you need to.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very kind introduction. Thank you, and it's nice to see you.
No, nice to see you. It always is. And man, you're hard to catch. You're a busy bee. And let me go back to this. I have so many things I want to say that we have to like jam in, but I want to point out again that you're hugely responsible for where I am today in this industry. The power of journalism, the things that you have written and said about me, and how you continue to support me and my push for making this industry a better place. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor. I really mean that.
Thank you is not enough, but thank you. And yes, I will forever owe you a huge amount of gratitude. And it's always so good to see you. It's always so good to be in the same room with you. I'd be doing a podcast with you. This is the other way around now. I'm interviewing you.
I know. This is kind of the tables have turned a little bit, you know?
They have.
Yeah.
So look, let's just jump right in. You have literally been all over the world. I mean, North Pole, South Pole, all the way around, top to bottom. So tell us, though, you've been all the way around the world, but tell us where you're originally from, because I don't even think I know that.
All right. So I'm originally from Norwell, Massachusetts, which is a quaint little town equidistant between Boston and Cape Cod on the coast. And it's kind of a white church steeple, quaint, preppy little New England town. And it was boring, and I just wanted to get out of there when I was growing up. But I also kind of learned my love of my ocean, the love of the ocean, growing up there. We were about 3 miles from the ocean, and I just knew that I wanted to sort of have a life sort of connected to the ocean based on growing up there, you know? And I traveled all around the world, but then I've ended up I live in the Boston area now. It's not because I grew up here. It's just because of a job that brought me here, 30 years ago.
So you've always been, I mean, would you say you've grown up then as a water baby? I mean, have you always been into boating and sailing? Like, is it a long family history of you guys have sailboat? You're more a sailboater than a motorboater, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the first sort of adventures I ever had was on a Sunfish, probably when I was like 6 years old. And we were on the Cape. And I was just one of those kids that I just wanted to sort of sail off across the horizon, you know, like I was a runner. And I took a Sunfish up, and I took it out by myself, and I sailed way further than my parents wanted me to, and scared my parents like crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can only imagine your sense of adventure now had to be so much more as a little kid.
It's
when
exactly
you're
the
fearless.
same. It is exactly the same.
You're fearless.
That's what's so amazing. It's like I look back on my career, and it's like I am kind of the same person, and I'm doing exactly the same stuff now that I did then, except the boats are a little bit bigger.
Just a little bit. A little bit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you write for Forbes. You're the senior contributor in the boats and planes department. I mean, like, that's just freaking awesome. How'd you pick journalism?
I didn't really pick journalism, to be honest. I went to school. First of all, I went to college in Colorado because I grew up a skier. Like skiing was really my first love, maybe even before the oceans. Like skiing was the first thing
Really?
yes, skiing was the first thing that I was good at. It had all the adventure sort of stuff that I was looking for. So I wanted to go to school in Colorado so I could ski. So I grew up sort of going and skiing in Colorado. But I don't know. I just wanted to have adventures on the mountain. And I'm not quite. Can you ask the question again?
So I'm just sitting here thinking, you're like a modern day Mark Twain.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I asked you how you pick journalism and you just told me.
So how I picked journalism. So I went to college in Colorado and I didn't know what to do. Like I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at languages. I wanted to ski more. I wanted to ski more than anything else, but I didn't know what to do. So I thought, okay, maybe journalism would be good. So I took a journalism class, and it was a 500-person class because it was a big state school, University of Colorado. And the teacher down in the auditorium said, "Look around, everyone. Only one of two of you in this class of 500 people will actually end up being a practicing journalist because journalism is such a competitive field."
Wow.
And I looked around and I was like, I know it's not going to be me. I knew that, I did not have the aptitude nor the attention to detail that journalism school required. And to be honest, I took some journalism classes too, and I hated the form. I hated, it was a very much you learn the system of journalism and you learn the system of writing journalistically, like for newspapers. And I hated it. So I realized that I probably, the only other thing that I could do was study English. So that's what I did. I studied English, the masters and the Shakespeare and the great American writers. And I learned how to think. And I learned how to write, not so much journalistically, but more by creating, ideas, sort of pulling together the ideas that I had from the different sort of literature. And learning to write about like that. So I more learned to think than learned to write, at least in college.
Though it goes, I'm going back to just thinking about how the interview that you did with me. And at that point I had done a few and very grateful for them, but they were kind of the same, where are you from? Why'd you want to be a captain? Just, and yours to this day is the absolute best because you were able to draw out of me very thought-provoking questions that I'd never been asked before, really make me think and really put together one of the best interviews. So it's...
Thank you. Thank you. That means the world to me, hearing that. It really means a lot to me. I'm very grateful for that. And I take my job, I don't want to say seriously, but I take my responsibility to kind of tell these stories. Like, your story is special. It's your story, and I take that seriously because I want to be able to convey, and I want to share the love too. That's kind of like my mission, really, is to tell stories like yours in a way that can maybe inspire someone else.
Exactly. But look, you yourself have a very inspiring story, and you had some ups and downs along the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you mind sharing some of those with us and some of your tougher moments? And I know you battled a little bit with alcohol.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's definitely one of the things that that I'm very passionate about in this industry is trying to sort through the weeds with the drug and alcohol abuse that's really prevalent, right, unfortunately. And we have, as crew, a very stressful environment. So explain to us why you turned to that and then what you had to do to get out of that and the amazing place that you're in your life today. If you could just kind of share that with us, that would be great.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. And I can't say that I was always going to be willing to share these hard moments of my life. There was stuff that I wanted to take to my grave. There was stuff that I didn't want anyone to ever know. And the cool thing is that I'm free from it all now. I can tell you exactly, what happened. I ended up sort of being just addicted to drugs and alcohol in college. I had a pretty difficult upbringing, and I sort of used drugs and alcohol as kind of like a way to sort of escape that, which is totally normal,
Mm-hmm.
And but I developed I'm an alcoholic, so I couldn't stop drinking and doing drugs. I had to drink and doing drugs in order to just quote unquote feel normal. And that was a pretty scary place to be. I had two sort of faces. I had the inner sort of person, the person that I really was, which was really hurt and scared and lonely and afraid and angry. And then I had the outer person, which was kind of fun and, like, let's party and let's, do all the stuff that you do in the University of Colorado in the 80s, which was basically everything. And, I had a lot of fun with it too. Honestly, it's not like I was like, drinking out of a bag wearing a trench coat. I mean, I had a ball and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But at the same time, I wouldn't go back for anything. So I was it was a pretty dark place. Somehow I was able to graduate from college. And I thought the best idea for me, the path to happiness for me was to move back to Cape Cod, because I spent my summers on Cape Cod, and, kind of try to figure out what to do with my life. And I ended up living in a tool shed. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's true. I was living in a tool shed, and I thought I was living like this Thoreauvian life, like simplify. And, but I got into a pretty dark place. And just by luck and a little sort of, I don't know, serendipity, I was able to sort of get to an AA meeting, because I was like pretty on the edge of either, there was no place else to turn. And I went to AA, and AA helped me a lot. And AA got me to the point where I was able to stop drinking and doing drugs. And I thought everything was cool. And I thought, okay, well, now that I'm clean and sober, I'm going to go off and have adventures, because like I've always wanted to have adventures, So I got on a sailboat in Newport, Rhode Island. And it was a delivery down to Antigua. And I had been sober for almost 2 years at that point. But when we stopped in Bermuda, I drank. And so I drank because there was a really cute girl from New Zealand that was on the boat.
Oh, girls, they'll do it to you guys every time.
Yeah, and I thought if she thought that I was like a cool drunken sailor type, that she would like me more than this like square guy that didn't drink. And that, in a nutshell, is what alcoholic thinking is. Thinking that drinking is going to make you better, or make you save you, or help you in any way. So that was a pretty scary place to be. I ended up in Antigua. I didn't have enough money to get home, and I was pretty lost. But again, I got lucky in that I met someone that was in AA that was in English Harbor, and they had a note up on the little notice board saying, friends of Bill W. come for some fellowship. For Bill W. is the founder of AA.
Okay.
And I went and I met with them, and I haven't had a drink or drug since then,
Oh, wow.
And, just ended up back in Boston, and then didn't know what to do with my life, but then a job at Sail Magazine came up. So Sail Magazine was the biggest sailing magazine in the mid-90s, and I got an entry-level job there. But as a editorial assistant, I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to be a professional. I'd never sent a fax before. I'd never worked in an office before. But it was my big break. And from that day until this, I've basically been a journalist, learning how to be a journalist on the job since then, and I've learned how to write, and I've learned how to be a professional, and I've learned how to develop relationships, and I've learned how to be sober and to be healthy, and to be a part of a family, and be a part of a team, and be a husband and a father, and all these things.
Wow.
Because of sailing off over the horizon, and kind of having that epiphany that I needed to get sober. So that's the long version.
Okay, it's crazy how life has its way of taking you where it wants you to go, whether
Right.
you think that's the direction you need to go. You said something that really stuck with me, though, is these lows were lows, and you don't care to go back and repeat them, but you wouldn't change them.
No.
And I've had my own set of lows and struggled with depression and wanting to end it all. And I say the same thing. And I think it's important for anybody that's listening or maybe possibly going through something really difficult to understand that these moments of uncomfort, yes, they suck while you're in them, but they're a part of life, and they're a part of making you who you're going to become. So as uncomfortable as they are, just knowing that other people have had moments like this, they've gotten through them, and they've come out on the other side to be extremely happy and extremely successful. I mean, look at you, for crying out loud. You travel all around the world. You get to see the coolest places. You're a freaking Forbes journalist. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that. So what would you have to say about anybody that's maybe struggling or going through something right now, and about maybe hope or a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, to knowing that if you put the work in, you'll get out on the other side to such a much better place?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's so easy to sort of say now that I'm on the other side of a lot of really heavy struggles, like, oh, it's going to be okay, just hang in there, you know? But when people told me that when I was in the midst of it, and I did not think it was going to be okay. I did not think it was going to end. I mean, I was living with my mom. I had no money, no girlfriend, no job, no self-esteem. You know, like I was a complete, I was at the end of the line, you know? And people said it's going to get better. And I didn't believe them, but at the same time, I did have these moments where I had these little epiphanies of like, you know what, everything is going to be okay. And I think that's the thing that I don't know if I could sort of give it. I'm not really good at giving advice per se, but I can sort of definitely talk about my own experience where things have a way of working out in ways that I never could imagine before. You know, like I thought that I had to figure my life out in order to sort of be happy. And I've learned, for me, it's been the opposite, where I've had to sort of go with the flow. It sounds kind of cheesy. I've had to work really hard and really sort of work at trying to bring something to life. For me, everything shifted when, instead of like thinking, oh, I need, what can I get? How can I sort of protect myself? Or how can I figure this out? Instead, it was like, what can I bring to life? How can I sort of add something to this situation? And when that sort of switched for me, and I wasn't thinking so much about myself and more thinking about what I can sort of bring to life, things had a way of feeling a little bit less horrible. I wasn't sort of focused on myself so much at the time. I started to sort of pay attention to other people and started thinking about how they felt and seeing that, you know what, they're struggling more than me. Thank God I'm not them.
Well, and that's the thing is you say, well, I'm not the best at giving advice, but you are really good at sharing your story. And if anything, I think sometimes just knowing that you're not the only one.
Yes.
You're not the only one. Somebody, unfortunately, always has it worse than you. Just hearing that alone and knowing that pushing and keeping going and keep trudging one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, you will get there. And if you put just the tiniest little bit of work in, you know, it's funny how the world has its own way of working things all out. But I think sometimes just hearing that you're not the only one. You're not the only one going through some shit. You're not the only one that's been down in the dumps ever before. And hearing that you, in fact, wouldn't change a thing. You don't care to go repeat it, but you wouldn't change a thing because it has gotten you to where you are now, and it has made you who you are today. And
the struggles that I've had have been amazing because it makes me uniquely qualified to help people who have those same struggles. And that's the thing, like, I can have a million people who haven't struggled tell me, oh, it's going to be okay, and I won't believe them. But when someone who has a story like mine, or let's say someone who has a similar background to me, if they can hear my story and say, you know what, this was my story, and this is how it worked out for me, and they can say, you know what, they can see themselves in me, and they can sort of take some solace in the fact that I've been able to get through this stuff too, and maybe even kind of learn from how I did it, whether it was whatever it was. That's kind of like, that's the gold right there.
And then it's almost like, I don't want to say you found your purpose in life, but you found your way to give back. And I think
Totally.
that if we're going to be on this planet sucking up all of the oxygen, we have got to find a way to give back and to help other people push forward.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, look at me, I'm giving back, aren't I so great? It's very practical. It's very practical. It's like, the more that I give back, the better that I feel, the more that I can sort of share the love, the better I feel. And it's like a virtuous circle going up.
It is. It absolutely is. And so my next question was going to be, and we kind of hit on it already, but would you change anything about your path?
I think I'd be taller. I'd like to be taller, maybe. little more handsome.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty handsome already.
You are pretty handsome already. The socks and the shoes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it.
I've always, this is who I am. This is me without any of like the stuff that I put on top of it to sort of hide me. Like, this is who I am. Like, I don't have to figure it out. I'm not manufacturing anything. This is who I am. I have had colorful shoes and talk with my hands and been sort of like the show off since I was a kid. This is exactly who I am. Like,
and don't you find it that life becomes suddenly so much easier when you stop trying to be somebody else?
Yes.
When you stop trying to fit the mold for somebody else, and when you are authentically yourself,
Right.
And I had somebody ask me a while back to give a keynote speech to their office on building a brand. And I said, while I would love to receive payment for this, and while I would love to do this, I said, it's really pretty simple. And they're like, well, what is it? And I said, just be your authentic self. And when you're your authentic self, people see that, they resonate with that. And it makes them feel, I think, some sort of comfort in that, knowing that they can be authentically their own selves as well. And you're not trying to be somebody that you're not. It takes a lot of energy to try to be somebody that you're not.
Right.
So
I find it takes, for me, at least in the beginning, it took courage, because I worked at Sail Magazine. I was like the boat test editor. I had this perception that I had to be the authority on boats. And if I was the authority on boats, then I couldn't have funny shoes and socks and, be myself. I had to be like a serious journalist.
is it?
And my career really started to kind of go up when I realized, you know what, I'm going to take a risk and really share myself in my writing. So, share some of the mistakes that I've made, share some of the painful experiences that I've had. Not all the time, not like sort of a self-help book at all, but more just like share more of myself in my work. And people resonated with it more, and it was more fun for me, and the work was better, So I just, the more and more I could sort of integrate my professional life and my personal life and my spiritual life all together, everything just sort of flows much easier.
Well, I think absolutely it does. And I think one of the things that we can get from here is that your mistakes, if you want to call them that, they may suck, the lows may suck at the time, but everything has a funny way of working out, and life really does kind of take you where you should and need to be, even though at the time you might not feel it, and really just being your authentic, genuine self and not trying to be somebody that you're not just makes life so much easier. And like with your writing, I mean, it's very clear in your writing that you're not going to try to be somebody that you're not, that you really are putting a lot of thought and energy. And again, I say the piece that you did on me was just, it's hands down the best one. That's why it's highlighted on my website, because it's just like, it's like, wow, this guy really has a different way of connecting and being, and clear down to, I get excited to see in the Billy Swizzle stories so that I can see what kind of socks or shoes you have on that day. You know?
That's right.
I mean,
or maybe coming out of the hot tub like, woo!
exactly. I know. I'm just like, you bring life, you bring joy just by being, your silly self, and it's
That's
so
what it's all
fun.
about.
It is. It is. Well, I mean, I can't believe we're at 30 minutes already, but we are. And so that thank you so much for sharing your story. And
You have one more. Do you want to ask me one more question?
yes, what's next for you?
So no.
Oh, wait.
The question I think you should ask me is, where did Billy Swizzle come from?
Oh, well, where did Billy?
Do you know the story?
No, I don't. And I was
okay.
like, am I allowed to ask where Billy? Yes,
Of course.
please. Where did Billy
No, of
Swizzle?
course.
Yes, where did he come from?
All right, so Billy, because it all actually, this will be like it all ties together. So Billy Swizzle, I used to be in a band, and it was like a bad sort of dad rock band, and I played the drums, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if we actually got dressed up and wore wigs and sunglasses and act like rock stars? So we played these like gigs in Boston. It was pretty funny. And so we played out, and I acted like a rock star, and I absolutely loved it. But the reason that they took the name Billy Swizzle is because the guys in the band wanted to do a website, and they wanted to like have all of us looking really cool, like, the band's album cover. And I didn't want my professional life, my journalistic life, to sort of overlap with my band life acting goofy, So I thought, okay, I'm smart. I'm going to sort of get a pseudonym. So if people Google search Bill Springer journalist, they'll come up with all my sailing stuff and not come up with my rock starness, So Billy Swizzle was the name that I used for the website and stuff. And then it just sort of took on its life of its own. Like, I am Billy Swizzle. Like, I mean, like having an alter ego is amazing,
Well, I was going to say, but now they're the same person. They're one and the same.
Yeah, it's a total, exactly. And I think we all have like a rock star or something inside of us that wants to come out, but we're conditioned to keep it in,
Which
and
is
to keep
so
ourselves
silly.
protected.
Which is so silly.
Yeah, but I mean, we're programmed to play it safe,
But yeah. I'm still.
Some people think my name is Swizzle. Maybe I should change it.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because this is no joke. When I was writing down some notes about what I was going to send over to you for today's podcast, I wrote Billy Swizzle, and then I went for a second. I was like, oh my God, I forgot what Bill's last name is. And I was like, wait, it's Springer. It's not Swizzle. So
yes,
I think,
that's right.
Billy Swizzle, Bill Springer, they're one and the same.
Billy Swizzle has a good ring to it.
It does.
It has a really good ring to it.
It does.
It's a great rock star. It's a great rock star name.
No, I think you need to bust out some pictures and some maybe.
Oh, wait till you see the pictures. Maybe I'll share the pictures and you can put it in. They're amazing.
We will. We're gonna have to drop some in.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see them.
Good.
Look, Bill, this
Good.
has been awesome. Thank you so much for
Totally.
sharing about your story, how you got to
Yeah,
where you
thank
are,
you.
what you did to get out of it. I think it's gonna be so inspirational for anybody that's listening. And thank you for just being such a super cool human.
Thank you for the time. Good to see you.
Awesome. Take care. And that's Billy Swizzle with Uncharted, everybody.
Woo!
Woohoo!